Alright, this is Simon G, RPG at day 12, and this one is about the wildest character concept. And this one is really hard because, every character, most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, when you create a character, you're trying to make a special snowflake. So you're always trying to make it special, always, most of the time. And so when you try to, when I was trying to remember the wildest character concept I played or I encountered, there were so many that could have fit the question. So I decided just to pick one that is recent, and that is interesting because I never created a character like that before. And so the character is a dark elf. His name is Miserion, and Miserion or something like that in English. And the dude is comes from a wood elf citadel. It's in Burning Wheel, and he comes from so he was an elf, because in Burning Wheel the dark elves are elves that go beyond their grief. They go through some spite, and then they become dark, and they kind of exile from their civilization, and they wander somehow, or different ways, and they become full of anger and spite, and so they are really powerful. Their music, because in Burning Wheel the elves channel magic through songs, and so the dark elves songs are really sad, and they call them litanies, and they are really melancholic and dark and everything. So I decided I want to give it a shot. And creating a dark elf in Burning Wheel, it's a really interesting experience because it's probably the most powerful race of the game. I would say, with the dwarves and dark elves, really powerful. But I would give the dark elf just a notch beyond. I think especially for the resource and the idea of spite. And this is what I realized playing that guy. So the dude was the character. Came from this wood elf citadel that's just a giant tree, and so he's he was part of the harvester class kind of thing. Like they are divided in some kind of class in that, and so he was like a harvester with his father, and he was cutting the leaves and cutting the trees and designing, shaping, and organizing nature around the citadel and all that, protecting it and everything. And for some reason he realized that he kind of it's almost like he had like a realization or an epiphany somehow, or an enlightenment, and he realized that actually the elves pretend to protect nature, but what they do is they actually organize it, bend it to their will. And so this is counterintuitive to what nature should be. And he had this big, mold breaker of belief. He was just... So that was that character creation. So he had like 2 life paths in normal elf, and then he shift and he get the other life path in the dark elf thing, and his grief became spite because of the event. So the event is that he got exiled. So he confronted his father about that, confronted his mother, confronted his king, his emperor or his king, and then he decided to exile himself and just go and just renounce his family and renounce everything. and he became a dark elf who was wandering in the forest, and he was really close to nature and everything. So my character was starting that way, you know. But he was super powerful because for some reason I had a lot of resources, and the dark elves, you know, I have access to like superior quality weapon from the beginning, and for really cheap price you can have access to those, and for really cheap price you can also get like super special dark elf stuff gear and I mean they have like amazing stats and just, so he was super potent. And but so the concept became over the top because the way I wrote the beliefs and the instinct and the skill I chose, and so the synergy, you know, in Burning Wheel there is a synergy concept. So the whole synergy of the character created a monster. So the character was he had like instinct stuff, like I just wanted to test it out, you know. I just wanted to try it and see what it creates as a story. He has stuff like you know, protecting nature at all costs, always getting in the way of people who try to hurt nature, killing an elf on sight, you know, stuff like that. And so it has it creates two situation in play. The first one is that it's easy for the GM or the other players to trigger your belief and your instinct, because you just put an elf there and boom, I decide to do it or not, and then I get my reward. Or you know, you do something against nature somehow, and then my belief, you know, it's super easy. So that's one thing. But the other side is that if I want the reward, I'm gonna do it, you know. So just for the sake of it, just for fun, I started to kill elves on sight. I burned like almost an entire forest because the character was a little bit like psychotic. So for him, because he's an elf, he's immortal. So an entire forest that is burning is part of nature. It's not like against nature, you know. So it's like, no, we burn it all, kill all the parasites and the bullshit that were there, and what happened afterward is that you guys are gonna die. I'm gonna still be here to see it flourish again, you know. So because it's really hard to play elves if you want to be canon with them, you know. They don't have a time, you know, so because there's no end, and so it's just, so time is really at least it's stretched out so far that they don't have the same relationship to responsibility and consequences for their action and morals and stuff like that. So I ended up with like a super crazy Terminator, murder hobo kind of character, but which is completely paradoxical. It's a paradox because you cannot play Burning Wheel murder hobo style because the game is too punitive. I mean, you're gonna die, and I mean, if you get into fight all the time, you can die on one die roll. So but I decided to do it that way. I was like, he's a dark elf. He don't care to die. So the idea of this you know, environmentalist, crazy dark elf who's trying to save nature at all costs and make money at the same time to survive and get by, and it's like some kind of a mercenary, I don't know, with gears for days and stats for days, created like this concept that was hard to play. It's not unplayable. I'm still playing it with some other people, but I think I'm not gonna play it again with these guys unless he change. And that's the good part in Burning Wheel, is that he can change. You know, the character, it's part of the game. So but I need to play it. But while I play it, it's just madness. It's madness. It's really hard to anyway. So yeah, this is the most intense, or most the most what's the name of the question already? It's like what's the most intense or powerful character concept? And there we go. That's my most recent, actually, and it's the one that I remember. All right, thank you for watching. Talk to you soon.